If you're thinking about moving to South Florida, this one decision could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, years of lifestyle regret, and hours of traffic every single week. And it all comes down to one question that almost every relocator gets wrong the first time: Miami or Fort Lauderdale? On social media, they look identical. Ocean views, luxury condos, rooftop pools, palm trees, perfect weather. On Zillow, listings blur together. And on TikTok, everyone makes both cities look like non-stop paradise. But here's the truth. Miami and Fort Lauderdale are not the same city. They are not the same lifestyle. They are not at the same pace. And they are definitely not the same place to live day in and day out. One city is fast, flashy, international, and intense, and the other is coastal, laid back, neighborhood driven, and quietly becoming one of the most desirable places to live in the entire country. By the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly which one fits you and which one just looks good online. Before we start, if this is your first time on the channel and you want to get to know everything about living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and the surrounding suburbs, then subscribe below so you can be the first to know about our current market in our area. My name is Hector Valdez. I'm born, raised, and have lived in South Florida my entire life. My team and I love to help people relocate to Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and the surrounding areas every single week. So if you're thinking about making a move, whether it's in 9 days or 9 months, feel free to reach out. Our contact info is in the description, and we'd be happy to help you make a smooth move to our area. We work with buyers coming from New York, California, the Midwest, overseas, and even people living already in Florida who are trying to figure out where they actually belong. And the number one question we get all the time without fail is, should I live in Miami or Fort Lauderdale? So let's break this down honestly from someone who lives here, works here, and sells real estate here every day. Let's start with the biggest difference, and that's the vibe. Miami is just not a city. It's an international brand. People don't move to Miami for calm. They move there for energy, excitement, nightlife, status, fashion, and global culture. Miami kind of feels like New York, Latin America, Dubai, and Los Angeles all blended into one place. It's loud, it's fast, it's crowded, competitive, and everything feels turned up to a 10. There's always something happening, there's always traffic, and there's always noise, and there's always motion. Miami never really slows down. Now, that energy can be incredibly exciting, intoxicating, especially in the beginning. A lot of people fall in love with Miami during the first 6 months. But what you don't realize until later is how intense that lifestyle becomes when it's no longer vacation anymore. Fort Lauderdale, on the other hand, feels completely different. Fort Lauderdale feels like a real coastal city. People wake up early, walk their dogs, they ride bikes, they go boating on the weekends. They have a routine. They know their neighbors. They go to the same coffee shop, the same gym, and the same restaurant. There is luxury here, but it's quieter. There is money here, but it's understated. There is nightlife, but it doesn't dominate the city. This difference in vibe alone is the reason so many people move to Miami first, then quietly move north a year or two later. Let's talk about what daily life actually looks like. In Miami, a normal weekday can feel overwhelming. Traffic starts early, parking can be stressful, simple errands take longer than they should. Even going to dinner can feel like an event that requires planning, reservations, valet, and a lot of patience. Miami keeps you stimulated, but also keeps you on the edge. Fort Lauderdale, daily life feels easier. You can run errands without stress. Parking is simpler, roads are more manageable. You're not constantly fighting crowds to live your life. That difference doesn't sound very dramatic until you live it every single day. And for most people, quality of life starts to matter more than excitement after the honeymoon phase ends. I myself, when I lived in Miami, I had to really figure out some hacks to kind of get around and get parked. I got very, very friendly with Instacart so that I could actually have my groceries delivered to my door, because every time I would go to our local supermarket, it was a fight to get in there and a fight to get back and then get all my groceries into my apartment building. So definitely something to consider in terms of living that lifestyle and how different it can be from Fort Lauderdale. Now, cost of living and real estate. Let's talk about money, because this is where the gap becomes very real. In Miami, prices are driven by investors, international buyers, and luxury branding. In areas like Brickell, downtown, Edgewater, Midtown, and Wynwood, 1 or 2 bedroom condos can easily range from $600,000 to well over $1 million. HOA fees are high. Insurance is high. Not only property insurance, but even something like car insurance can be extremely high. Parking often is extra. Valet, amenities, and assessments add up fast. Miami's expensive because it's global. Fort Lauderdale still offers value, especially for people who plan to live here. You can still find waterfront condos in the $400,000 range, townhomes in the 500s, single-family homes with yards at least $600,000 or $800,000 range, and sometimes even a little lower than that depending on the neighborhood. HOA fees are generally a little bit lower, parking's easier, properties and neighborhoods feel more livable and not just impressive. For buyers, Fort Lauderdale simply gives you more home and more comfort for the same money. Another massive difference is how the cities are actually built. Miami is extremely vertical. High-rise living dominates. Most people live in large condo towers surrounded by other towers. Buildings have constant turnover and neighbors come and go, and it can feel very transient. I know because I actually lived it myself. Fort Lauderdale is much more neighborhood-based. Areas like Victoria Park, Coral Ridge, Imperial Point, Rio Vista, Wilton Manors, and Lauderdale by the Sea feel like actual communities. People buy here and stay. Kids grow up here, neighbors talk to each other. This sense of stability matters more than people realize, especially if you're thinking long-term. Beaches and outdoor lifestyle. So Miami Beach is iconic. It's energetic, crowded, and tourist-driven. Parking is expensive. The vibe is loud and social. Fort Lauderdale Beach feels more relaxed. It's wider, cleaner, easier to enjoy. Parking is simpler, and the crowds tend to be much more local. And just a few minutes north or south of Los Olas, the beach experience becomes dramatically calmer. You also have access to multiple nearby beaches, which spreads out and gives you a lot of options. Okay, work and life. So if you're working for remote workers and entrepreneurs, this section can matter a lot. Miami can be a little distracting. The pace, the traffic, the energy make it harder to disconnect. Commutes can be stressful. Everything feels super urgent there. Fort Lauderdale offers better balance. It's easier to focus, easier to maintain routines, easier to separate work from lifestyle. That's why so many remote workers choose Fort Lauderdale after testing both. All right, what about from an investment perspective? Miami has seen massive appreciation over the years, but it comes with a lot of volatility. Prices are influenced by global markets, investor trends, and speculation. Fort Lauderdale has seen strong appreciation with more stability. Demand is driven by people actually living here, not just investing. That's why a lot of smart money is quietly moving north. The biggest mistake relocators make when moving to South Florida is choosing based on vacation energy instead of daily lifestyle. They fall in love with Miami on a weekend trip, then struggle with it long term. The people who are happiest here choose the city that fits their everyday life, not their Instagram feed. So what's the final verdict? Miami is where you go to experience South Florida. Fort Lauderdale is where you go to live in South Florida. Neither city is better. They're just completely different. One offers a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, a lot of movement, and the other one offers a calmer lifestyle and more interconnectivity with the community. If this is your first time on the channel and you want to get to know everything about living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and the surrounding suburbs, then subscribe below so you can be the first to know about our current market in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. My name is Hector Valdez. Once again, I'm born and raised and have lived in South Florida my entire life. My team and I love helping people make their move to Fort Lauderdale, whether it's 9 days or 9 months. Feel free to reach out. Our contact info is in the description, and we'd be happy to help you make a smooth move to Fort Lauderdale. Thanks for watching.